My name is Tommy Concrete, and you are watching Metal DNA.
Hit the light, hit the light, hit the light. Ooh, yeah.
And I'm going to talk to you about the fucking absolute business when it comes to rock and roll, heavy metal, hard rock, and all of that. And that is Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead, and also of Hawkwind. Everything I do is inspired by Lemmy in some way, even all the music I make, even the stuff that doesn't sound anything like it. And you know, I've heard people say it's not all about being good, it's about being consistent. And like AC/DC along with them, there's nothing more consistent than fucking Motorhead. Back in 1990, maybe a couple of weeks before the first gig I ever played with a band I was in called Warp Spasm, first proper band. And we saw Motorhead at Hull City Hall, and Lemmy, we waited for Motorhead afterwards, and Lemmy came out. It was fucking hell, it's Lemmy. And our bass player, Paddy, he had a plectrum box with plectrums in it. He gave it to Lemmy, will you sign this? And he goes, hold on. Are you lot a band? I'm like, yeah, we're a band. And he was like, fucking brilliant, lads, you go for it. Like, you know, Lemmy said, yeah. But it was weird because he was the first adult that any of us had fucking known that had been absolutely confident, 100%. You guys are going to be great. You go it. You know, teachers, family, everyone had all been, well, you need to get a job or you're going to be a load of shit. Fucking meet Lemmy. And he says, yeah, you fucking do it, lads. There's no need for rock stars to be that cool to stupid idiot wee boys. So when they are, it's just an absolute genius. And I think about that whenever I meet people. Am I going to be as cool as that? No, but I'm not as good as that either. So there you go. There's a trade-off maybe. But yeah, I mean, it set us off on a path. And we're seeing the Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2 interview with Lemmy in it. And they say, what's your advice to young bands? And he says, do it. Run it up a flagpole and see who salutes it. And that's it. And that's all you can do. That's all anyone can do in this situation. And it's just an unpretentious resilience that Lemmy gave off in the music. And I've been thinking recently about what happened in the 90s to a lot of the 80s bands. You hear that story about grunge appeared and suddenly heavy metal was over. And a lot of the hair bands and a lot of what was traditionally heavy metal stopped overnight, became uncool, which is sort of true. And then there were some bands were just like fucking over. I mean, like they're still going, but things like Whitesnake and what have you, they were virtually owned the world. But then by 1982, you couldn't give them away, you know what I mean? And then there was bands like Anthrax, which changed to try and fit in with the 90s. There was bands that didn't try and fit in with the 90s and didn't have the greatest decade, like big bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and stuff like that. Motorhead didn't get cancelled by it, and they didn't change. In fact, they did the opposite. With March or Die, they did a fucking album with like bizarre hair metal like ballads on it. They actually became the very thing that grunge had apparently got rid of. Whereas Motorhead, because of what they actually sounded like, they were probably the most likely band to not be cancelled by grunge anyway, if you know what I mean. But they're like, wait, what do you mean we're not going to get cancelled? Well, we're going to do the fucking thing that's going to cancel us, and then we're not going to get cancelled. You know? You can't help but respect that. And throughout, as they went on, it's the impact that Lemmy had on people's lives, certainly people in my generation and above. After he died, my band Tommy Concrete and the Werewolves, we did a Motorhead tribute gig at the now defunct Studio 24 venue in Edinburgh, and it was fucking hundreds of people there. But you know, it was proper like, what the fuck, you know, like hard ass fucking big silver bearded bikers in full leathers weeping. You know, it was like, what the fuck happened? You know, it was, you know, when you see when Kurt Cobain died and that, there was all the candlelit vigil of all young people all into it and that. But a lot of people, they're into it that much a bit when they're young, but then they phase out. You know, at this Motorhead thing, it was guys in the 50s and the 60s, fucking hard-ass bikers and that, with motorbike chains and what have you, fucking openly crying. Lemmy had gone. And, you know, then you hear about the Clean Your Clock live album, we recorded like the last two before he died, and I had something saying that there was fucking 85 cancerous tumours in his body when he did that. I mean, fucking hell, there's people out there cancelling gigs because they've got a hangover, or they've got the flu. No. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he probably had a hangover as well as all the tumours. You know what I mean? Put it that way. So yeah, Motorhead, Lemmy. I can't think of anyone a bigger influence. And as well, do you know what I mean? It's like some of the music that he plays. I mean, he can get the most out of a single note riff. Just a single note. Bam, 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 bam. It's almost like where modern metal things like beatdowns, where does that come from? It's a single note riff. We'll trace that right back down to all the hundreds of Motorhead songs. It's just a rhythm and a single note. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things can be traced there. Even if you don't like it, it's fucking it. Alright, I'm Tommy Concrete. It's my new solo album. Doesn't sound anything like Motorhead, but it's got just as much absolute fuck off to what you're supposed to be doing as Motorhead do. Hex and Circle on Trepanation Recordings. Metal DNA. Lemmy.
Your fans are insane. We're gonna blow this place away. With the volume higher than anything today. We start to rock, we never stop again.